This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
This portion of Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Hodges University, celebrating 25 years of educating Southwest Florida.
Welcome back, Southwest Florida. As we close out this particular show, we're so thrilled to have here some pillars in our community. Yemisi Oloruntola-Coates, Diversity Director, Manager of Diversity and Language Services at Lee Memorial Health System, and of course, Dr. William Glover, Senior Pastor, Mount Hermon Ministries, and they are taking on something that is very vital to our community: sensitivity training for law enforcement. So we're thrilled to have both of them here. Let's bump you in.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
And your pastor should be on Lee Pitts Live. Like that one, Governor?
Like it a lot.
Hey, man, again, congratulations on getting your doctorate. I think it's about 3 years now.
About 5, actually.
Did that been that long?
Back in 2010.
Cool. Before we get into all of the details, I like reading what you write for, what's the name of the newspaper?
Community Press.
The Community Press. Tell people how they can get a Community Press. Great paper.
There are multiple locations all around the city. One place we can get them for sure are at the area churches and the area businesses.
Mm-hmm. What do you try to come when you're writing for the Community Press? What are you trying to get across to the community in most cases?
I try to deal with relevant issues that touch people's lives on a daily basis. I try to deal with issues that educate, inform, and that inspire people.
Okay, so just plug your Miller Brooks. See that? Okay. Yemisi Oloruntola-Coates, you, diversity and language and all of that you do for Lee Memorial Health System. What's your primary purpose? What are you guys trying to accomplish with your department at Lee Memorial Health System?
Well, definitely being a bridge amongst all the diverse cultures, languages. I often say that diversity has multiple identities. And so our job is to help bridge that gap if there's any gaps between the providers and also the community.
Now tell us, with your unique background, you are uniquely qualified to partner or work closely with the City of Fort Myers Police Department, along with Dr. Glover here, in terms of what you all are putting together now that's going to be great in terms of being proactive in our community, in terms of some of the things that we're seeing nationally with the police, law enforcement, and particularly African-American community. Tell us about your approach.
Yes, well, I know Pastor Glover is going to share the genesis of the story, but you're absolutely right in terms of we're being proactive rather than reactive. A lot of the communities today are looking at the same model that we're doing, but it's unfortunately after a significant tragedy. And so what we're trying to do is be proactive and be that bridge between the community and law enforcement. But I know Pastor Glover can share.
We'll get to that. Okay. So we'll stay right here with you. We'll stay right here with you first.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell us. We're gonna get to Pastor Glover. You can put it all together. Tell us what do we expect to come out of the sensitivity training?
Well, I don't like sensitivity training.
Okay.
I don't like that word because it's polarizing in my research and studies. What we're trying to do is create cultural competency amongst police officers and eventually down the line with the community. And cultural competency, what it is that you have culture and you're trying to understand the culture that you're engaging. Who are they? What are they? What are their needs? What are their securities, insecurities? All of that. And competency implies having an understanding when those things are presented.
Got it.
And so this training, this approach is really to really centered around cultural competency.
Okay. Now let's go to Dr. Glover, the genesis of it. And it looks like you got an interesting, good working relationship with the Chief Doug Baker of the City of Fort Myers Police Department.
That is correct. And the genesis of this initiative was really born out of conversations that a group of clergy had with Chief Baker after a tragedy. Back in October, Andrew Faust Jr. caught a stray bullet, 5-year-old kid. I had the honor of preaching that service. And I was so moved and touched by the violence in the community at that time. I participated in this discussion, and in this discussion, we were brainstorming ways to improve relationships between law enforcement and the community. And I suggested to Chief Baker that perhaps we needed to work on developing a program akin to the Fort Myers Police Citizens Academy, except that the training will be geared towards law enforcement officers. He liked the idea, but he said he wanted a template built on the needs, the concerns of the community. Did not want to bring in some consultant who didn't know the community.
Wow, that's great.
And with that, I saw opportunity. I stepped forward and I said, Chief, I have some experience. My background is in education. I was in education for 10 years before going into the ministry full time. And I have some experience with curriculum development. So I volunteered to take the initiative to begin the steps of developing curriculum for this training that it has turned into with Yemisi's help. Chief loved the idea, and with that we shook hands, and as soon as I left the Chief's office, I gave my friend Yemisi a call.
Okay. And
I said, listen, Yemisi, we have a wonderful opportunity here to do something for the community. I said, I can manage the organizing, pulling organizations and leaders together, but I need your expertise in diversity. And I explained to her what was going on, and she came on board, and we've made tremendous strides to get to this point.
Okay, so on May 16th you had what, and then on May 30th you're going to have what?
Well, we had, first of all, we had interest meetings, about 40 organizations in the community, about 70 leaders participated in interest meetings where we laid out for them this entire program. To get buy-in, because if the community didn't own this, it wasn't going to go very far. And we needed the influence of other leaders. Coming out of the interest meetings, we asked them to put forth 2 individuals, high-functioning individuals from the organizations who could be trained as facilitators, focus group facilitators. We've trained about 30 facilitators, and on May the 30th, we're having the big event, which are community focus groups, entitled Law Enforcement and the Community.
Now, Yemisi, I understand these focus groups are going to be in different places throughout the community.
That's correct.
Elaborate on that.
Yes, it's going to be at about 16 locations.
Yes.
About 16 locations throughout the community. In addition to that, not only will we have Community Focus Group Day, an actual day dedicated to that, the police, Fort Myers Police will also have in-whole focus groups. As well, and they have participated on the May 16th facilitator training. So it's not just on one-sided, it's two-sided, where both communities will have focus groups and be able to share their information.
And I really like the proactive nature of this. Now, let's go to the focus groups.
Yeah.
We got a phone number on the screen.
Yes.
Now, different focus groups will be conveniently located in different people's areas, I would assume.
That's correct.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you don't want to just emphasize that this is something for black folks. You want different people to come in and be a part of that.
Absolutely. That's very great that you mentioned that. We've reached out to the Hispanic community. We've also had Haitian community leaders participate as well. All area, particularly in the Fort Myers 33916 and so on, around those 05, 01, in those areas to participate in the community focus groups. Anyone that wants to have their voice be heard, to come in and let us hear from you and participate in the community focus groups.
What happens after the focus group, Dr. Glover? Is it just going to be some papers come out or some action?
No.
That's a great question. One of the purposes of the focus group is not only to give people an opportunity to voice their concerns, but we're also going to be gathering information.
Yes.
And that information from law enforcement, that information from the community, is actually going to be used to develop training curriculum that will be used in enhancing the Fort Myers Police Department officers' training in dealing with minority
ongoing
communities.
basis.
On an ongoing basis. Yes,
this would be
absolutely.
the beginning of them having some
Absolutely.
and in direct feedback from the community.
That's
Absolutely.
correct.
And what we have learned is, one of the things we're trying to find out is mutual interest. People always focus on where law enforcement and the community are at odds. And there are some issues to be discussed and worked through. But there are a lot of mutual self-interest as well. For example, when a law enforcement officer gets up in the morning, his self-interest is to get home safely. That's a self-interest. When someone from the community encounters law enforcement, their self-interest is to emerge from that encounter safely. So they both have an interest of safety. So we're trying to find those commonalities and say, how can we work together to make certain that law enforcement officers police our community and remain safe, and our community can interact and cooperate with law enforcement and also remain safe.
Yeah.
So we're finding these bridges and finding ways to be proactive in working together, and then that way hopefully diffuse some of the tension that exists.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, final question. The focus groups on May 30th, is there a time that people need to know that these focus groups will take place?
Yes, absolutely. There will be 3 sets of times. The first time will be from 9:30 to 11, and then the next time is 12 to 1:30, and then there is another 1:30 to 2:30. So we have those 3 times listed, you know, just for, because people may have things going on in the morning, so we wanted to make it have multiple choices for them to be able to come in.
Excellent.
And in addition to the different locations. But I also wanted to add to what he just said is that oftentimes I say diversity is part of the cure, right? But it's 3 C's. It's the community, it's the care of the community, and it's the cure. So once you understand the community, then you understand how to care, and I'm talking about community, both police and the greater community, then you will understand how to care on both sides, which then ultimately leads to the cure.
Outstanding. Well, both of you guys make me have a cool job. I mean, I
You're
get
just
all
cool
this,
anyway,
I get
man.
all this great information. But and I got a certain time I'm supposed to get out, but I'm gonna take another second. Dr. Glover, am I mistaken this, or is it you seem to be even more active about what's going on in the community now than in the past? Are you just taking it on personally? Hey, I'm gonna get more and more involved. Not that you weren't involved in the past, but I'm seeing you like out there now.
Well, I think you're right. I think there has been an evolution in my involvement. I think as I have grown as a person and as a minister, you know, most religious people make a distinction between the sacred and the secular, things that are of God, not of God. And as I have matured, I'm finding that there is no distinct line, that everything is sacred. And the calling isn't just to the church, it is to the community, because it is the community that makes up the church. And as Dr. King said, you know, how can we preach the glories of heaven and ignore the earthly hell that people have to endure? We have to deal with those issues that divide and cause people pain.
And to see you and what Mount Hermon Ministries and everybody that's involved is so refreshing to see that. And a person of your stature to be so involved like you are, like, now this is all good for the community, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Anything I can do to help, I'll be right there.
Thank you.
I need to mention we also have focus group sites for young people.
Yes,
okay?
we do.
That's right.
Ages 13 to 19 to 20 at Mount Hermon Ministries. That's going to be a focus group site for young people, and also Nations Association.
Okay.
So we want our young people to
come
turn out,
yes.
because we want to hear,
from them.
Well.
And I wanted to say too, you know, Lee Memorial Health System, obviously with my being involved, is 100% backing this, because the health of the community is not just about your physical health, it's also about your everything that encompasses your health.
Big shout out to Lee Memorial Health System.
So yeah, definitely.
For those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those like these fine people who put on the community focus groups who are doing it. We'll see you next week right here on the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.